Well, now welcome back to the Deep Dive, your trusted spot right here in Overton County for unearthing big ideas and finding those nuggets of wisdom that truly stick with you. Hope you're all feeling as fine as a summer's morning down by the roaring river. Today, we're embarking on a journey, really, to spark that creative spirit inside you, helping you see the world around you with fresh eyes, whether you're out towards Allen, up on the plateau, or right here in Livingston. We've been poring over the insights of a remarkable author and artist, a fellow named Austin Kleon. His ideas are, well, they're as refreshing as a cool glass of iced tea on a hot July afternoon. Our mission today is to uncover how every single one of us, from the busiest farmer to the quietest crafter, can tap into our own unique creative flow, understanding that you don't have to be some kind of genius to make something truly special and meaningful.
And what's truly insightful here, I think, is how Kleon takes these, age-old truths about where good ideas come from. And he presents them in a way that can genuinely empower anyone listening right here in our community. It really challenges a lot of the common assumptions folks might have about creativity, makes it feel, well, accessible, less daunting.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And he starts right off with a notion that might just make you scratch your head a bit. He says, nothing is original. All creative work builds on what came before. Now, that might sound a little strange, right? Maybe even unsettling, especially if you pride yourself on being unique. But Kleon points out this isn't some newfangled notion. No, he says it's ancient wisdom found in the Bible and was even borrowed from 2,000 years before from the Egyptians. He even found this old Egyptian poet like 4,000 years ago complaining all the good words were used up. Can you imagine? It's like those cherished family recipes passed down through generations. Nobody starts from scratch for mama's biscuits or grandpa's stew, right? You're built on the goodness that came before. He likes to call this specific approach not plagiarism, mind you, but stealing like an artist.
And if we consider this from maybe a broader perspective, it completely upends that traditional idea, that often kind of isolating idea of individual genius. Brian Eno, the musician and producer, he talks about seniors not like old folks, but as the collective inherited wisdom. Or maybe the ghosts of past creators whose influence forms a kind of shared genius we all draw from. It's a powerful way to think about it, how you're never truly creating in isolation. You're always in a dialogue with what came before, with the folks who receive your work right now, and even with future generations. Your work isn't fully realized until someone engages with it, activates its meaning.
Right. So it's definitely not about outright plagiarism. We got to be clear on that. Kleon clarifies this is about cultivating what he calls a jewel thief mentality. Sounds kind of fun, actually. He says you're always casing the joint, always looking around for what are the little bits and nuggets that I might be able to pick up. It's about developing a keen observation of the world, fostering a certain kind of attention. He believes that if you assume every person you meet, every book you read, every experience holds a little nugget you could use, well, you start paying attention in a really fruitful and curious way. It's about taking an existing idea and then putting it in a new place or putting it in a different context. Think about the movie Alien, famously described as a haunted house in space. Now, that's a brilliant transformation right there. You take a familiar concept, transport it, and bam, you transform it into something new and exciting.
Exactly. And this notion of building on what exists, it naturally leads to the idea of swimming upstream to build your own creative family tree. By tracing influences, by asking yourself, well, where did their work come from? Who are they inspired by? You start to build this root system and develop strong DNA for your own creative stuff. It's not just about copying. It's about understanding the lineage, where things come from. This also helps you spot, what did they not do, or what paths did they leave unexplored? That can spark entirely new ideas. It's like imagining, what would happen if I got these heroes together in a room and had them collaborate? This kind of raises an important question for you listening out there. Who are the seniors in your own life or creative lineage right here in Overton County? Whose wisdom or work are you, maybe unknowingly or perhaps knowingly, building upon? Could be your grandmother's quilting patterns, passed down, or the unique way a local craftsman here in Livingston shapes wood, or even just a particular turn of phrase in a story your grandpap used to tell. Recognizing those influences, well, it enriches your own process immensely.
Now, here's where it gets really empowering, I think, especially for anyone who's ever felt like, oh, I'm not an artist or I'm not a writer, so I can't really do this creative stuff. Kleon offers some advice that feels like, shedding a heavy burden, he says. Focus on verbs over nouns. So instead of trying to be a writer, just focus on writing. He argues that those nouns, those big titles, can actually be more deleterious, more harmful than the simple action words. By focusing on the verb, the doing, you dramatically lower that mental bar, makes it way less daunting. You don't have to aspire to be some capital A artist to pick up a pen and sketch something on a napkin right there at your kitchen table. It's so much easier to commit to draw something today than to carry the huge weight of being an artist for your whole life, It shifts the focus from this fixed identity to an active, ongoing process. That's a much more forgiving way to approach creativity.
And that commitment to simply doing rather than being, it naturally opens the door to embracing imperfection. That's another cornerstone of his philosophy. What's really fascinating here is how letting go of that need for perfection lets folks step into the creative process without that paralyzing fear of failure. Kleon has this beautiful perspective on it, suggests the very flaws in something can make it more meaningful. He explains, and I'm paraphrasing him a bit here, that the things I feel most connected to are often the ones that were obviously broken, and I found ways to fix and care for them. He draws a lot of inspiration from children, actually. Kids just don't call it art when they're throwing stuff around. They're just making stuff. Right. They're totally absorbed in the process in just how good it feels to be scribbling without worrying about the final product or how it'll be judged. The famous artist John Baldessari even noted he learned so much from watching little kids draw exactly because of that uninhibited approach.
That's a powerful observation, isn't it? And Kleon takes that idea even further. He talks about how those imperfections, those broken bits we might try to hide, actually let us, the audience, into the work. If something's too perfect, too polished, it can feel standoffish, like there's no room for conversation or connection. But if it's just slightly off, if it shows the hand of the maker or the journey it's been on, it invites us in. It allows for an emotional entry point.
Exactly. It's like an old barn standing proudly in a field here in Overton County, patched up with different kinds of wood over the years. It's got character, tells a story. And that's often what draws us in far more than some brand new, sterile building. Think about kintsugi, that Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. They highlight the breaks instead of hiding them. Those golden seams become part of the object's beauty and history. It's amazing. Or consider improv comedy, where a mistake isn't a failure at all. It's immediately treated as a gift that opens new, unexpected paths for the scene. You want a mistake just enough to make it interesting because it gives us something to work with. It reminds me of Austin Kleon's personal take on that famous Keep Austin Weird slogan. He says, "Be the weird you wish to see in the world." Which I think raises an important question for all of us. Where in your own life might you be hiding something? Maybe a flaw, an unusual passion, a past experience that, if you really embraced it and let it shine, could actually become your greatest strength, or just a unique part of your story.
So with all these insights bouncing around, what does this actually mean for your daily life? Right here in Overton County, balancing family, work, everything else that fills your plate. Kleon sees everything as just a big stew pot, not something you have to compartmentalize or balance separately. That's kind of freeing. He got inspiration studying artist mothers, seeing how their roles just intertwined. He believes your own kin, especially your little ones, can be your greatest teachers. Seriously. A 4-year-old sees everything fresh, without the filters of adult assumptions. Kind of like how Walt Whitman looked at a blade of grass and leaves of grass and talked with a child about it, finding the extraordinary in the plain ordinary. Your everyday life, your family, your community here, it all feeds into your creative well.
Yeah, he really emphasizes caring as connection, borrows this profound idea from Rob Walker's book, The Art of Noticing. Walker suggests that we love things and that they're meaningful to us because we take care of them. It's a powerful reversal, isn't it? We usually think we care for something because we love it already. But Walker says the act of caring actually creates the love and meaning. His book even has this assignment to care for something for a week. Apparently, a student cared for just a simple plant for that week and suddenly developed this deep affection for plants. This principle applies to your work, too. Even if you're feeling totally uninspired, going through the motions, just showing up to your creative practice is crucial. Kleon often says, writing is about figuring out what you think, not just, expressing some preformed idea. The act of doing clarifies the thought.
That's right. And he believes hobbies are incredibly underrated, massively so. They offer safe failure without all that intense pressure of professionalization. He loves riding his bike, for instance, but he refuses to call himself a cyclist. Why? Because for him, it's about being an amateur, about the pure love of the activity, free from the expectations of performance. Just fun. Sometimes the answer you're looking for ain't found by pushing harder, by grinding away at it. Lord knows we try that sometimes. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come by stepping away, maybe taking a walk through the woods behind your place here, letting the problem cook on the back burner. Your unconscious mind is still working on it, and time itself becomes a valuable resource for breakthroughs.
Oh, what's truly fascinating here is Cleon's wonderful guitar string metaphor he uses to describe creative energy. It really clicks. He says that this energy, this ability to make things, comes from a proper tension between opposing forces. For him personally, it's between his own deep laziness, his words, and an intense discipline, which, as the musician Robert Fripp defines it, is simply making a commitment in time, showing up. So think about a guitar string. If it's too slack, you get no sound at all, flabby, useless. If it's too tight, it snaps and you're left with nothing, broken. The beautiful music, the creative output, it comes from finding that just right balance, that sweet spot. For Cleon, this tension also exists between pictures and words in his own work. He admits he's maybe a mediocre writer and a mediocre artist, but when you combine the two, when you find that sweet spot between them, he feels he becomes pretty good. This raises another important question for you to ponder. What are the unique opposing forces within you? Maybe ambition and comfort, structure and spontaneity, your work life and your personal passions. What forces, if harnessed with the right proper tension, could create the most beautiful music for your own unique work or life right here in our community?
Right. Now, for those of us, and maybe that's a lot of us, who feel like our small efforts couldn't possibly save the world in these chaotic times, well, Kleon delivers a truly powerful and, I think, liberating message. He says art saves lives, not the world. That's a profound distinction, isn't it? It shifts our focus from these grand, often overwhelming societal changes to the tangible, immediate impact we can have. He compares trying to throw art at the world's problems to that Kurt Vonnegut line about attacking a knight in armor with a hot fudge sundae. Funny, but true. It's individual people whose day is improved, whose spirits are lifted, whose perspectives are shifted by a piece of art, a song, a story, or a well-crafted object made with care. And as he puts it, if you do that enough, you save the world in tiny ways. I love that. It's about being curious, paying attention, and making things, particularly things that are rapidly leaving our culture, like handmade goods or unique local stories. He deeply encourages everyone to just show up and do what they know how to do, because that collective individual effort truly can make things better, one small act at a time.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it means every small act of creativity you engage in, every unique thought you nurture, every effort you put forth right here in Overton County, it contributes to a greater good. It models for others what it means to be engaged, present, willing to create. This also ties beautifully into that concept of safe failure we talked about. Cleon suggests finding a private place where you can put yourself in that kind of beginner's mind, a place with no pressure, no judgment, where you've really got nothing to lose. Think of a side project, a personal journal, or a hobby you pursue purely for joy, not for show. He points to Orson Welles creating Citizen Kane with sheer ignorance of what wasn't supposed to be possible in filmmaking back then. And that ignorance, paradoxically, made it possible. Or that classic story from Ken Robinson's TED Talk about the little girl drawing God. When asked, "You don't know what God looks like, do you?" she just confidently replied, "They will in a minute." That's the mindset, creating without that heavy weight of expectation. This raises maybe a final question for us all today. What little thing can you start doing, maybe even today, just for the pure joy of it, without any pressure of perfection or the need to save the entire world? What small, delightful act of creation calls to you?
Well, folks, we've certainly taken a mighty fine deep dive today into the heart of creativity, haven't we? Guided by Austin Kleon's wonderfully liberating wisdom. Remember, it ain't about inventing something totally new from scratch. No. It's like a good old quilt right here in Overton County. It's about piecing together what's already there, what inspires you, to make something unique and profoundly meaningful for you and yours. Focus on the verbs you love, those actions that bring you joy. Embrace those imperfections like character marks on a well-loved piece of furniture. They tell a story. Draw inspiration from your own family, your neighbors, the rich history all around us here. And don't be afraid to just go through the motions even when inspiration feels miles away, or to let that creative problem cook on the back burner for a spell. Find that proper tension that makes your own unique music sing. And always remember that your little acts of creativity truly do save lives, one heart, one moment, one joyful creation at a time. So if this deep dive has sparked a little something in your heart today, if it's got you looking at the world around Overton County just a little bit different, maybe your neighbor's rustic fence, or a wildflower blooming along the road out towards Rickman, or even the curious eyes of your own grandbabies, then we invite you to do us a mighty favor. Like this deep dive, leave us a comment down below about what sparks your creativity right here in our community. We'd love to hear it. And subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our conversations. Let's build our own little creative community right here together. And as we part ways today, we send up a little prayer for each and every one of you listening. May your days be filled with purpose, your hearts with joy, and your minds with endless curiosity. May you find beauty in the ordinary, strength in your imperfections, and the courage to make your own unique mark on this world. Bless your hearts to each and every one. Until next time, take care and keep on making good things.